that the same foreign policy elitists who believe this should be the goal of the United States, nuclear primacy, are some of the same people who argue for gun control, but they're arguing the same thing. In other words, they're saying nuclear primacy is great because we can engage in violence against them, but they can't fight back. Oh, by the way, gun control is great. Well, what are you saying? You're suggesting they're making the exact same argument, but the ideologies conflict. You're saying that the Russians are in danger because if we engage in nuclear primacy, we can effectively disarm them. But you're not in danger, but we effectively disarm you. What is it? You may say, oh, Dan, that's kind of a strange analogy. No, it is not. It speaks to a larger why matters 30,000-foot thing that Joe and I concentrate on this show all the time. And the why here is, why are you conflating violence with aggression? They are not the same. Aggressive violence is a threat to every law-abiding American. And by you arguing for, quote, gun control and effectively de facto restrictions on preventing Americans from carrying the firearm of their choice to defend themselves, you're saying that they shouldn't be able to defend themselves because you don't understand the difference between aggressive violence and defensive violence. You're simply conflating the two. Violence. Fine, we got to control violence. Do we? No, serious question here. Or do we have to control aggressive violence? Because if you're saying we should control violence in general, you're doing it because it's a talking point and you're not understanding the actual, deeper intellectual debate here that you have the God-given right to defend yourself. You know, there's a reason, folks. I spent, a year of my life, 23 years of my life. Just got back in recently. It was in my head. Ground fighting and boxing and Thai boxing and judo and wrestling, American wrestling, Greco stuff, takedowns. It's not because I ever plan on starting a fight in the street. It's because, God forbid, at 43 years old, some young buck thinks he's going to take advantage of me and my kids walking out of a movie theater. Ain't going to happen. I'm not a violent person, but I practice defensive violence twice a week in my jiu-jitsu place. God forbid, I've got to defend myself. Mm-hmm. So when the left starts saying it's violence, say, wait, we talking about violence or aggression? They are not the same thing. Because once you turn the conversation, Joe, to aggression, then all of a sudden it gets uncomfortable for them. But I don't have the right to defend myself against aggression? Is that what you're saying? So you're saying violence should be prohibited, what, under all cases? Defensive violence? No, makes no sense. Here's a quote from this piece, a great piece. Please read it. He says, this then is the practical solution for dealing with aggressive violence, except that it is impossible to eliminate the means to inflict harm. Impossible. You can eliminate firearms, not altogether, but you can try. Doesn't matter. They'll get a gun. They'll get a knife. They'll get a bomb. They'll run you over. It doesn't matter. Except that it is impossible to eliminate the means to inflict harm. Except that some people will seek to harm others. That is an incontrovertible fact of human life. There are the wolves among us. That will never change. 3, create in yourself and other decent people the ability to respond to predators with overwhelming counterviolence. History shows us that when people do not have the means to defend themselves, they will eventually suffer atrocities. The moral argument is cut and dried. One more paragraph. I wasn't going to, but this is such a great piece, folks. I really can't encourage you in strong enough terms to read it. One more. A human being is the absolute owner and sovereign over their body. As such, they have an absolute and inalienable right to defend themselves from aggression by others by any means available or necessary, as long as those means do not harm other innocent people around them. Gosh, what a great piece. What a dynamo. Whew. I mean, powerful, powerful stuff. Rarely do I read a piece and change the entire course of my show, but that is a really wonderful piece. Check it out today. Let's see how we're doing here. Oh boy, we're already way over on time. All right, Joe, hold on to those cuts for tomorrow. Listen, folks, tomorrow I want to let me just set you up for tomorrow here. I definitely want to get into this Broward County Sheriff. He needs to resign immediately. The failures were before, during, and after. They were atrocious. They were catastrophic. They were deadly. His attitude afterwards has been horrendous. But I want to get into quickly some of the shirking of the responsibility tomorrow with him, and also some phone calls that were recorded, 911, that Joe was kind enough to cut for us, that are just horrifying. And you'll be astonished that this guy still has a job. So don't miss tomorrow's show. Please go to Bongino.com, subscribe to my email list, and please spread the word on the show. I try to like everyone who does so, your comments on social media. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. Get more of Dan online anytime at conservativereview.com. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 at DBongino.